Hello everyone and good morning. It's November. Today I actually am filming a reading vlog. As many of you know, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is about to come out this month, literally in like a couple weeks. And I have been obsessed with the Hunger Games for forever, and I was absolutely obsessed with the movies. Still am. I still think the Hunger Games is a masterpiece. So ashamedly, I still haven't read A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I pre-ordered this book the second it was available because the idea of a new Hunger Games book coming out, I was elated. But I got it in 2020 when it came out, which we all know what happened in 2020. Global pandemic, lockdowns. If you were in Canada like me at the time, we were in and out of lockdowns for like 2 years. And this book came out right like close to the beginning of the lockdown for me, and I got it and I tried to read it and I just couldn't do it. At the time, it just was like so mentally exhausting for me to deal with everything that was going on in our world and just like in my personal life as well. I couldn't get through Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I had to put it down. But recently, as you can see, I have picked it up and I have started reading it again. And so far, I'm really liking it. It is still so heavy and violent, which in everything that's going on today in our world, like all over the world, but you know the things that are happening in the news right now and what the media is choosing to report on. And so this book, while it is extremely difficult to read, I do believe something that is so special about the Hunger Games series is that it is extremely prophetic and it speaks a lot to the things that are going on in our world right now. And highlighting a lot of those issues and what we can do as people to just really bring more light into the world and to help with these problems. Like Katniss really empowered a lot of like young people to use their voice and stand up for what they believe in. And I think that this movie coming out at this time is so timely, and I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm just really moved by it. I wasn't annotating it for like this first half, but now I have like all my like notepads and like my highlighters and stuff ready to go, because I do think that there's gonna be a lot in this book that just like really speaks to a lot of the things happening right now, and I really want to just like hang on to all of that. Anyways, I was not expecting to get this deep this quickly in the video. I actually wasn't expecting to vlog at all, but I just really do want to get back into it a little bit more and just ease myself into it. So I thought that I would do a reading vlog today of me trying to read more of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I cannot guarantee that I will finish it today because I am a slow reader and I do have other responsibilities, but I am confident that I will get a lot done. So I will keep you updated on my progress, on my thoughts. I haven't filmed a reading vlog yet for my channel, so this is really exciting. And the fact that it's the Hunger Games, which is like literally a series that made me want to be a writer, is really special. So I'm excited. We have taken a little reading break for a soup and sandwich whole situation. I'll be honest, I was really feeling soup because I just need something like to comfort my insides. The issue is that it's like 80 degrees outside, so I don't know what I was thinking. Good soup. Very good soup. I'm back after having some lunch and a little treat to go with my afternoon cup of coffee. I'm like pretty much halfway through this book, I believe, like almost halfway through. And I think like what the most interesting thing about this book is for me is just seeing where the games started off. This takes place in like, I can believe it's like the first Hunger Games, or it's like at least like one of the earlier Hunger Games, and just like seeing what Panem was like at that point and how they treated their tributes and like how everything was setup is just like, it's really unique to see. And I think it's like also like, I don't love that it's in President Snow's perspective, I will say that, but I understand why it had to be like someone from like the original series. But I think it's interesting that we're finally getting the Capitol's perspective on things, because I think with situations of like war and cruelty, it's like really easy to just like pick one side and not like understand like the nuances of this perspective. Yes, like what is happening to like the districts in this story is like really awful and inhumane, but like Coriolanus, I can't even say his name, President Snow, young President Snow, like his family has also been like super affected by the war, and there's other families within the Capitol who also are like starving. They don't have enough resources to get food or whatever, like they're struggling, and like it's a different struggle, but like they're still struggling. And like I think it's like, it's really interesting to see the Capitol in this light, because in the original Hunger Games series we see them in so much affluence, and there definitely is affluence here, but like it's just different. It's so different than the perspective that we think we have at the Capitol in the Hunger Games series. So I'm like really enjoying just like getting a more nuanced perspective of like what is happening in the Capitol. I do think it's weird that Tigress is President Snow's cousin. Once again, thought that was weird when I first started reading the book back in 2020. I still think it's weird, but I'm also curious to see like what happens and like why they don't talk anymore, and like what, like I just want to know what happened. Basically, I'm at the part where they find out that Coriolanus's friend, I believe his name is Sejanus, I think that's how you say it. They just find out that he's in the ring, like he's in the arena, which is crazy. Like, why is there a mentor in the arena? And they're like, people think that him and Coriolanus are like friends and whatnot, and so like they're trying to like resolve the issue. That's like where I'm at right now. Dr. Gall, terrifying. Anyways, I don't know what's gonna happen. I actually have no theories. I do think that Coriolanus ends up in the arena as well, which I gathered from the trailer for the movie. I don't know. I guess I just have to keep reading, don't I? Hi. So it's been like forever since I've updated you guys. I'm not even gonna lie. I have been reading Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and I feel like I spend like a solid like 90% of like reading this book like ripping my hair out from my head, because it is so stressful, and like not in the way that like the original series is stressful. Like the Hunger Games was stressful because we were like following Katniss through the arena, and like the stakes were so high in like that regard. This is stressful from like the other side of things. Like I'm stressed because I can sense that Suzanne Collins is like trying to get me to sympathize with President Snow, but I don't want to. There are moments where like I don't actually sympathize with him, but I sympathize so much for Lucy Gray. On top of that too, like the stakes are higher in this book in a different way. Like something that I love about this book is that it is showing us a perspective of the games that we didn't get in the books, but we got in the movies, which is like we're seeing it from like the Capitol's perspective. And like in this instance, it's like before the Hunger Games was what it is. This is like the story of the Hunger Games becoming a show and becoming like a spectacle. And I think like it's fascinating just seeing like the politics behind the scenes of the games, especially as like, you know, these students are becoming mentors in the academy. Stakes are high for Snow, but it's also high for like everyone else, because it's like right after the war too, so there's some people that are still sympathizing with the districts, and that was like even more of an issue back then than it was like when the Hunger Games like first started. So I know I went all over the place for a minute. My brain is kind of scattered today, and it's partly because in the midst of reading Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I have also been inspired by TikTok to fall back into my Sarah J. Maas era. I also have picked up A Court of Silver Flames because I haven't read it yet. I didn't like the last book in the ACOTAR series. I kind of just like fell off the wagon for a little bit. But then I started craving a good Sarah J. Maas book again, and specifically the ACOTAR series, but I didn't want to reread the ACOTAR series. So I haven't read this yet. And Cassian and Nesta were my favorite characters in the ACOTAR series. They were my favorite ship. They're my favorite everything. Like just anything Cassian did was y'all already know. Nesta is, I love her. Like, I love her so much, and I love her story, and like I like her like dynamic with Cassian is like super intriguing to me. But anyways, that's kind of like the update. I also did just get out of Barnes and Noble and buy a new book. I bought The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, which I've had my eye on for forever. Am I on a book buying ban right now because I have too many books on my shelf I haven't read yet? Yes. Will The Way of Kings still be here if I didn't buy it today? Yes. But guys, come on. I wanted to buy a book, okay? It's been a long time since I've made a purchase like this, and it was my birthday last week, so I'm justified. The way, I also still haven't finished reading Tress and the Emerald Sea, and I got that like 3 months ago. I don't even know. Anyways, I'm on my way home. It is like 5:30 p.m. The sun is setting, and it's so beautiful. Like, I don't know if you can see it, but that's gonna be so nice. So yeah, I'm on my way home. It's Friday night, so probably watch a movie is usually what happens. As for a writing update, guys, I have 7 chapters left of the Winds of Destiny rewrite. 7. That's like super crazy to me. I'm going home now. I'll talk to you guys hopefully tonight, later tonight. I'll give you more reading updates soon. I pretty much woke up and chose to just like read in bed, you know, after scrolling on TikTok for like an absurd amount of minutes. But I just started reading, guys. At this point in the book, like, I really just like don't know what's happening. Like, I don't know why. Like, this is something about I've noticed with Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, is that for some reason my brain cannot follow along very well. And I don't know if that's a me thing or if that's like the book. I don't know. But basically, I know that these are like the arena scenes. The mentor, so Coriolanus, which I'm going to refer to him as that because I can't, for mental health reasons, I can't keep referring to him as President Snow because it's just really tripping me out. Basically, him and the other mentors are like watching the games, and they do this like every day. Like, they'll go and like watch the games, strategize how to get like sponsors and provisions sent to their tributes. At this point though, it's like we're reaching like near the end. Like, a lot of the tributes have died, and Lucy Gray is in the arena trying to figure out like who is left and how many people are left, and they're all like watching this happen. And this is supposed to be like, this chapter is supposed to be very intense. Like, everyone is killing each other, and like Lucy Gray is like in trouble, and we're supposed to feel what we felt when we were reading the Hunger Games when Katniss was in the arena, and we were freaking out every second because everyone was trying to kill her. And I just feel such a disconnect, and I think it's a character thing. I'm not connecting to any of these characters at all, whereas like I had way more of a connection to Katniss and Peeta. They were the ones that were like in the games. That's what I think is fascinating, is that like technically, like, we're, as like the reader, we should be able to relate more to the mentors than to the people in the arena. If you look like factually, for the most part, like most of us like living in the West, like, we're watching violent things happen on TV all the time, and we should be more similar to like the Capitol watching the games, is like what I'm trying to say. But I feel such a disconnect between the people watching the games than the people like in it. And like even Lucy Gray, like, it's not in her perspective, so it's like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think I'm just trying to say I do not click with the characters, and so it's making it really hard for me to like actually digest what's happening and care about what's happening. Yesterday I was talking about how like I spend 90% of the book like wanting to like rip my hair out, and it's because like there are parts that are really intense, but none of it has to do with the characters. It all has to do with the situation and what's happening and like the thematic elements of the book. Guys, I don't know. I just like, this book is feeling very mid to me, which like I felt that way before when I first tried reading it. But now I think, now that I'm like over 300 pages in, I think I feel very indifferent towards it still. But anyways, I'm gonna keep reading. I'll check in with you guys later.
I'm the same one before I started rapping, act like you know me. I should please act like you know me. I'm the same one before I started rapping, act like you know me. I should please act like you know me. You ain't had to treat the boy like a villain and call the police. You ain't had to call the police. How you act like you a OG when knowledge and then unfolding? Yeah, you really end up folding. I just shed so many tears, but I lost it like you're trying to live. I've been running out of time, I caught the squib. When you start going up, everybody calling dib.
So it is now 1 p.m. and I've been out all morning. Like, I think I got here around like 10 a.m. and now it's 1 o'clock. So it's been quite a few hours. And I ended up just going on like the best adventure. A little solo adventure. I did read more of I did read more of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I'm gonna update you guys when I get home because I feel disgusting and I'm starving. So we're gonna go to the supermarket and I'm gonna go just grab a really light lunch. But yeah, I'm gonna grab some lunch and I'm gonna shower. And then I need to talk to you guys about this book because I have so many like icks and yet so many excitements or little like things I like, things that are ick. There's a lot that's ick that I want to talk about. So once I'm showered and once I've eaten, we'll catch up. So I made it back. I showered and now I'm having some lunch. This is just like a little power bowl that I got from the grocery store. And of course I'm pairing it with Coke Zero and water. I need to drink more water. I just had lunch, I showered, and now I'm actually about to sit down to start importing some footage from this vlog onto my computer. But before I did that, I wanted to give you guys an update on Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I read more of this when I was at the cafe. I think I read like 2 chapters, something like that. I think I was at page, I actually might have read more than that. I'm a slow reader, to preface, so please don't make fun of the page count. But I think I was at like 325 or 335 or something, and now I'm at 355. I started taking notes and highlighting things, which like I like to get that into the habit of like annotating my books. But part of the reason I started writing and annotating in this section is because something happened in this freaking book that made me so confused. President Snow becomes a peacekeeper? I'm sorry, what? Okay, so like basically I got to like the end of like, I guess it's like part 3 or part 2 that I'm on. Part 2. I got to the end of part 2. At first, I told you guys in the last update, like I really like did not know what was going on. All I knew is that we were at the climactic part of the games where like Lucy Gray is pretty much like one of the final people left in the arena. But I didn't realize that like there was like maybe like 3 people left. I had no idea how close to the end of the games we were. And once I started realizing that, I was like, well, why? What is this then? What is all this? What does that mean? Bro, they caught Coriolanus for cheating in the games because he left his handkerchief in like the aquarium or the tank or whatever that like all the snakes were being kept in, and he remembered how with, is her name like Clemencia or something, she like had like that encounter with the snakes and the snakes bit her because they didn't have like her scent. So he gave the handkerchief in there that had Lucy Gray's scent on it so that she would be protected from like the mutant snakes. But he also gave her his compact that belonged to his mom and it had rat poison in it. Dean Highbottom caught Coriolanus cheating to like save Lucy Gray. So I guess they still named her as a victor anyways, but like President Snow is basically kicked out of school. He's forced to be a peacekeeper. Guys, I was so confused. I don't know why we're doing this. Like, I don't know how to feel right now because when I read that he was a peacekeeper, I was like, this is literally the most random. It just was not what I was expecting. Then I started reading part 3. He's a peacekeeper in District 12. We're in District 12. Like, and I had a moment where I had to stop because I started tearing up. This makes me so sad because District 12 doesn't exist anymore. So the fact that we're in District 12 made me really emotional. I'm not gonna lie to you. I started getting like goosebumps, like teary-eyed, like everything. Him and Sejanus, he's like also a peacekeeper and they both end up in District 12. And Sejanus is like being like, oh, like I did this to see if like I could make the world like a better place. And Snow agreed. But what I think think is like so interesting is that the way that Snow agreed, what he said, like I don't remember exactly the exact words. They basically say like, instead of battles, we have the Hunger Games. Yes, to punish the districts and remind us what beasts we are, said Coriolanus. The Hunger Games are a reminder of what monsters we are and how we need the capital to keep us from chaos. So that's what I mean by like the old Snow is like still there, because that's something like he still believes. Like he still believes that the districts need the capital, and he still sees the capital as like what is keeping balance and what is like maintaining peace. And like he still doesn't like quite understand that the districts are extremely underprivileged. They're slaves basically for the capital. They basically just like make everything for the capital, and like any of the money that goes to the district is going to capital things, capital industries, everything. And like Snow still doesn't like understand that. He's still in the mindset of like, yeah, like we'll make the world a better place like for the capital basically. And he just like doesn't understand. And like I think that's interesting because it really like aligns well with the agenda of President Snow in like the original Hunger Games series. I am going to take a break from reading. I'm actually gonna start uploading footage from this vlog onto my laptop. I'm gonna watch some YouTube and just like take a break this afternoon and do some work. That's what my Saturday afternoon consists of. It consists of reading, editing vlogs, chores. What a eventful Saturday for us. Isn't it eventful? How fun, how cute. Hey guys, so I ended up writing this morning. I haven't gotten to reading yet, but no fear, okay? I'm gonna show you what it looks like outside and you can tell me what the rest of my day is gonna look like. See, it's overcast and it's windy and there's a storm on the horizon. So I will be reading all afternoon. Guys, I need to talk. I've been reading. This part of the book is literally my favorite of the whole thing so far. Honestly, this last section, like this last part of like Coriolanus being a peacekeeper, low-key, I wish it happened like closer to the beginning of the book. And then like maybe he worked up to becoming a mentor, and then Lucy Gray was called in, and then they had this like dramatic thing happen, because it really like feels like there wasn't a Hunger Games at all. I think I need more time to like process, but right now like I'm not too sure if I like really like how it was structured. That being said though, I do really like this book. Like I like it way more than I thought I was going to. When I was told that we were gonna get a book in Coriolanus's perspective, I honestly was like really upset about it. Again, like this is like my second time like actually like trying to read through it, and I'm really happy that I did. Like I'm really happy that like I didn't give up on it. And like honestly, I do really think that the reason I didn't get into it the first time is like, number one, it's a bit slow paced, but also it was just like the timing of like when I decided to read it. It was just like not the right time. But I got to the hanging tree part, and when I say the hanging tree part, I mean the part when she's singing the hanging tree song. Like Coriolanus has some like speculation about the meaning of the song and who it's about, and Snow thought it was about the hanging that had happened earlier that day, and I still think that it is about that, but there's also speculation that it's about Lucy Gray and her ex-boyfriend, and I'm still on that track. I still think it has something to do with that, but I think it's just like a very layered song in this book just as much as it is in the original Hunger Games series. As I was reading that part, I was like, I wonder if they're also going to like attribute the Meadow song to Lucy Gray Bayard. They did. She freaking sang the Meadow song. She sang the Meadow song. And I have mixed feelings about it. I think it's fun. I love that like we're getting like the origins of the music in the Hunger Games, because that was such like a significant theme in the story. But I also feels like they're reaching, like that Suzanne Collins is reaching a bit to like tie everything to like the original series. But I do really like the connections a lot. Aside from, again, the thematic elements of the story, we're getting way more into that now and into why Snow believes in the capital. He has this whole conversation with Lucy Gray about it, and I think it's so interesting because Snow firmly believes that the capital is what's keeping the peace, and we knew that in the original series, but this is really showing us why he thinks that, and it's because of how he views humanity. It's not necessarily stuff that like happened to him, but everything to do with what he has learned and chosen to accept as human nature. And his view of human nature is that without law and order, humanity will brutally kill each other and fall apart like they do in the games, that they'll all kill each other like they do in the games, and that is the nature of humans. Whereas Lucy Gray believes that, you know, that there is goodness in us all. And so you have these two characters who are in love but have extremely different systems of belief. And I'm not gonna lie, I really don't think it's gonna end well. Right from the beginning, I just had a feeling it wasn't gonna end well. I really feel like Lucy Gray is gonna die, and I'm holding my breath and trying not to like be spoiled from TikTok. But yeah, I really think Lucy Gray is gonna die, and I'm not okay. Earlier today when I was writing, I listened to Olivia Rodrigo's song Can't Catch Me Now that she made for the movie on repeat. I think I listened to it almost 30 times. It's a little bit embarrassing, but I was writing, so it was kind of just playing in the background as a soundtrack to what I was writing. And not only did it make me more emotional, even more emotional about the part of my book, my own book that I was writing, but it also made me so emotional about this book because I think it really intensifies my theory of Lucy Gray dying in like a really like terrible way, and I'm like bracing myself for it. But it also is just a beautiful song, and I can't get it out of my head. And yes, I'm going to listen to it on repeat as I keep reading this book. I'm in the home stretch, and what I thought was gonna happen is happening, but it is so much worse. So much worse than I thought it was going to be. Like, I have chills. I'm like screaming at this book in the way that I did at Gale in Mockingjay. I'm just gonna say, anyone who chose not to read this book or was like not interested in this book like I was, because it was in President Snow's perspective and they didn't want to read it because they were afraid it was gonna make you sympathize with him, don't worry. No, don't worry at all, because don't worry. Oh my gosh. But seriously, I'm freaking out at how freaking brilliant this book is. Like, Suzanne Collins, I can't deal with this book right now. I finished it. I am in shock. Like, I need time to process before I give you guys my final thoughts of the book, because I feel like this just took me on a huge roller coaster. Like, my opinions of this book have been all over the place, and the ending of this book really, like, I just need things to settle in before I give you my review. Okay, so we're on our way to go see A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Do you want to show them your outfit?
Yeah, I got the Marlins hat, Miami Marlins hat on. I got the bait New Year jacket on. You know what I'm saying? Plain black tee. Got the baggy loose jeans. You know what I'm saying? Got a little bit of everything right here. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, I had to braid my hair because it's only fitting. But yeah, let's go see the movie.
That's what we rocking with.
So the car broke down. Love that. Was rushing to get here on time, only for our car to not start as we were getting gas. So we're officially late for the movie. I hope that the trailers are still going on for like 20 minutes so that we don't miss anything, because I will be devastated. Hi, so I'm back. I finished reading A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, as you guys saw, and I did also see the movie. I didn't have time to film anything at the theater because we were running super late because our car didn't start, but we did make it to the theater on time. Like, we literally walked in right as the movie was starting, which was praise God, because I was so scared that we were gonna miss the first part and I didn't want to miss anything. So I actually wrote a review for this book on Goodreads. I don't normally review books, and as you guys know, like, I don't normally do reading vlogs, but because this is a Hunger Games book, and because the Hunger Games played such a significant role in my life and in my journey as a reader and a writer, I had to. I'm gonna try and keep this as short and concise as possible. Now that I've written up a pretty good summary of my thoughts about the book on Goodreads and have had some like conversations with my husband and my friends who went to the movie with us about the movie compared to the book, I think I can summarize as best as I can. I will do my best. This video is already so freaking long. I ended up giving the book 4 stars on Goodreads, but I actually think I would range it between 3.5 to 4 stars, and I have like a few reasons for that. The first reason is that I felt that the first half of this book wasn't as engaging as like the third part and like the ending. Personally, I felt that the pacing was a little bit off, and that's actually something I really enjoyed about the movie, is I felt like they really fixed the pacing issues that the book had. They did take out a lot, so like all the scenes with like the covey in the third part weren't there in the film, and while like I did enjoy learning about the covey while reading it, I understand why they had to take it out of the movie. Even like in the first half of the book, I just felt like things moved a lot faster and it was a lot more intense, and it's possible like I just was able to visualize everything better because it was like playing out in front of me. When I was reading like the actual games part in this book, it wasn't as intense for me as it was when I was watching it in the movie, if that makes sense. The movie really improved like the first half of this book for me. Like watching the actual games part of the film, it felt so much harder to watch than the original series. And part of it is because I felt like the casting was younger and it was more in line with the ages of the characters in the books. Like when we saw Josh Hutcherson and Jennifer Lawrence like casted as Katniss and Peeta, they were older. They seemed so much older, but like if you like really think about what Katniss would have looked like at 16, like it makes everything feel way more barbaric. And so like that was like one thing that I noticed, but also it was the fact that there was no extra fluff. Like the arena that they're in is literally a sports arena. It's not crafted to be like a jungle like we see in the other movies, or like a forest or whatever. They are put in a confined space, like a very small confined space. There's no need for survival. Their only survival is to not get killed. Whereas like in the other movies, we had that portion where like, okay, like don't get yourself killed, but also like you need to find water, you need to find berries, you need to find food, you need to like survive in that way. Whereas this was very focused on the fact that everyone was there to kill each other. It was just so much more raw than in the other movies, and it made me nauseous. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, like the actual games part of the movie was really hard to watch. Yeah, it just like really unsettled me in the way that it was supposed to, because it's supposed to disturb us. If it doesn't disturb you, then we got pray for you. So yeah, my favorite part of the book was the third part when we were in District 12 and Snow was a peacekeeper, and like we were seeing these like little kernels of the rebellion come up, and like that was my favorite part of the book. And really, I think it's because this is like where there were a lot more connections to the original series. And like there were parts when I did feel like Suzanne Collins was reaching a bit. I didn't see the significance of Lucy Gray also having written the Meadow song. I was excited about it, but I also just was like, okay, it feels like we're kind of like grasping for like more connections. I will say though, like as I read further into it, I can see how so many of these connections to Lucy Gray have now created like a new layer of intensity on a lot of things in the original series. And I think the biggest example of that is the Hanging Tree song. The fact that Lucy Gray is gone, like she's physically gone, we don't know what happened to her. I'm happy that the movie kept it as ambiguous as the book did. Like I like how that came full circle with like the reference to the Wordsworth poem, the like Ballad of Lucy Gray, and like how that really like foreshadowed Lucy's ending. The Hanging Tree song is so much more significant now because Lucy Gray disappeared and she is out of Snow's reach. Like we don't know what happened to her. We don't know if like she died or whatever. But the beautiful thing is that no matter what happened to her, she still lives on through the Hanging Tree song. And we know in the original series that Katniss knows of this song because her dad used to sing it, but it's a forbidden song because it's a rebel song. That's what we know in like the original series about it. And like I think it's so cool now knowing like the backstory of the song. The Hanging Tree song like now is like Lucy Gray's legacy. It's very ironic. Like the reader like really experiences a lot of irony in reading this book because this song ends up being what sparks the rebellion in Mockingjay. It's the song Katniss sings sings, and that like all the districts rally and sing as well to march against the Capitol. So it's like not only is it now like an uprising against the Capitol, but it's like literally Lucy Gray's song is what they're using to get at Snow, and it's what ends up like biting him in the butt in the end because of all this. And like seeing the seeds of where all that started in this book just like made so many of those things way more significant. And like I do think that's what the point of the book was, aside from like the thematic elements. So like this is very philosophical because it's all about human nature. It's begging the question, are humans born naturally wicked, or is it our environment that makes us evil and makes us want to do like really terrible things? And what I like about how the book kind of concludes that conversation is that they kind of leave it in between, and we see that through Snow's character. Like there's no confirmation as to like what it is, because we see that Snow grew up a certain way, and he had been through certain things that kind of made him think negatively about the districts and have this like mindset that they need the Capitol and they need the games. Like he grew up in that, but at the same time he had so many choices and was presented with so much information against those beliefs, and he still chose the latter. Like the former, I should say. He still chose what he like originally believed. And like his arc through the story isn't like behavioral, it's very intellectual. It's basically about him deciding what he believes of humanity. What I think is cool too is the movie and it was like a little bit over dramatic, I will say. At the very end of the movie, after we get like the epilogue where like Snow lands on top kind of thing, we get the quote from the original series where President Snow says, "It's the things that we love that destroy us the most." Chills. When they said that in the movie, I literally had to cover my mouth, because now, once again, that line has a whole new meaning to us as readers and as fans of the films, because we know now that it's about Lucy Gray. And it's true. Like, Lucy Gray does technically destroy him, like with that song that like lives on through her. Okay, editing Charlotte here, I forgot to mention something in this clip. There are a lot of theories that Lucy Gray is Katniss's grandmother, and a lot of that comes from, number one, the fact that she wrote the Hanging Tree song, that Katniss learns that through her dad, but also from the fact that she keeps bringing up the Katniss plant. Like, she keeps finding the Katniss plant and talking about how much she likes it. So there's a lot of like substantial evidence that Lucy Gray is Katniss's grandmother, and if she is, that adds even more to that line that Snow says in the original series about the things we love destroying us, because it then would have come completely full circle, where it's now like Lucy Gray's granddaughter is the one that ends up killing Snow. We basically see the evolution of the games, and it's all attributed to President Snow. When the tributes get introduced as celebrities, when they're fed and taken care of and treated well and having to like, you know, do interviews and like all this stuff, like they're treated as humans, whereas the tributes in like this book, in the 10th Hunger Games, they were not treated that way at all. They're treated like animals. It feels so much worse reading this because of just how raw the brutality is, but it's also equally as disturbing knowing that like in the rest of the trilogy, like in what we know what the Hunger Games looks like now after the events of this book, it's so much more disturbing because everything is so much more subtle and it's so intentional. Like, that's something that I think was lost in the movie, is just like actually how Snow is formulating these thoughts of how to improve the games. His whole agenda by the end of the book is like, well, we'll make them more human so that more people will watch. Seeing Snow formulate these ideas really was like hard to read sometimes, but I'm also grateful because like, once again, like this book never asked me to sympathize with him. Yes, like there are moments where you're like, okay, he's been through a war, his family is struggling, I do feel bad about that. However, the way he thinks is so jacked up that it's just, he's a villain throughout the whole book. Like from beginning to end, he is just a very messed up person who is both a product of his environment and his own choices. Like, all Snow wants at the end of the day is status, power, money. Yes, like, he wants money for his family, but within all of that, like, as you see him get his own friend killed so that he would get the plinth prize and so that he could stay alive and go home, how he, like, you know, leaves Lucy Gray the minute he finds those guns, all of that, just, and more, way more. You see in that like, he does not care about anything else. Really, what he cares about most is, like, his family name and his status and power, and that is why he is a villain. And I do think a lot of that was lost in the film because we don't get Snow's inner dialogue in the movie, whereas in the book, like, it is told in his perspective, so we get his thought processes in a lot of ways. And so I do feel like in the movie it almost felt like we were asked to sympathize with him more because we weren't seeing what he was actually thinking. I remember there's literally one scene where his grandmother is, like, putting a rose on his lapel and accidentally stabs him with one of the thorns, and he thinks about killing her. Like, bro, what? So I do think that the movie was a really good adaptation of this book. I like some of the things they left out in order to fix the pacing. Again, like, I do think the movie is harder to watch in the sense of, like, it does kind of feel like they're asking me to sympathize more with President Snow. And, like, especially, like, when it comes to the relationship with him and Lucy Gray, because we can see his inner thoughts in the book, we know he's using her. We know he doesn't, like, actually really like her. And the movie tried to portray that, but I just think it translates better in the book because we get his inner dialogue. That concludes my thoughts and my reading of A Ballad of Songbirds and Snake. This was honestly really fun to do, and I've never done a reading vlog before. And so because this was my first vlog, I do apologize if it was all over the place, especially at the beginning, because I'm still learning how to articulate my thoughts. And so this was my first one. So if it was all over the place, I'm sorry. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up. You can leave a comment. If you have read A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I would love to hear your thoughts on this book as well, and on the movie if you've seen it. I will be rereading the Hunger Games trilogy now, by the way, because I am very much back in my obsession with this series. I have already picked up the first book and I'm already screaming, crying, throwing up because it's so good. It's just as good as it was years ago. If you like this reading vlog, let me know. I might do another one with the right book. If you want more content from me, you can follow me at Charlotte E. Craig Writes on all social media platforms. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.
I done shed so many tears, but I lost the light to tryna live. I've been running out of time, I caught the squib. When you start going up, everybody calling dibs. I'm up, I don't need no coffee.